Morning, folks. Councilman Rasmussen here, coming to you with my update from our March 20th, 2023 Town Council meeting. Had a number of things on the agenda last night, ended up being quite a long meeting for us. But I will start off with the sort of non-agenda item updates and then hit on some of the big things from the agenda. First and foremost, the Smyrna Town Tidbits. Obviously, if you're not signed up, you should be for Thursday. But there's some good stuff in there from last week. One is that I've mentioned this before. There's going to be another meeting hosted by the Kent Dover MPO about the intersection of Route 300 and Route 6. It's coming up. It's March 30th. It's going to be at Citizens Hose Company from 6 to 7:30. So if you have not provided input or you'd like to hear the updates, you can attend. It's a public meeting. It starts at 6 o'clock. Come out. The more feedback we have on this, the better. Obviously, it's a long-standing issue, and seeing some progress on it is a relief, I think, to a lot of people in town because it's a tough intersection. The couple of other little things coming up. I've mentioned this. Saturday, April 1st is going to be the Easter egg hunt hosted by the police department. Let's see, it's 10 a.m. start for the little ones, 3 to 6 year olds, and 11 a.m. start for the 7 to 10 year olds. I may actually have to be there for both of them, being that I have a 6 and a 10 year old. That's a lot of Easter eggs now that I think about it. Also, coming up on Saturday, April 22nd, so about a month away, we are going to be having a unveiling for a statue dedicated to Mayor George C. Wright Jr. This is going to be in front of Town Hall. Actually, if you've been past Town Hall, you'd see that the two large holly trees have been removed from the front of the Town Hall, something that's been on the slate to happen for a long time. I was actually a little bit sad when we were going to do that, and then having now seen Town Hall with the trees removed, I'm actually pretty pleased with it. I think it actually looks a little bit nicer without the very, very large holly trees in the front, though I hate to lose big holly trees. I wish they could have gone someplace else, but they did not. But 11 a.m. on Saturday, April 22nd, is going to be an unveiling of a statue commemorating the work of Mayor George C. Wright Jr., and then there's going to be a reception afterwards at Ashbury United Methodist Church, right across the street from my house. So come on out. A lot of folks knew Mayor Wright when he was here. He's a sort of a groundbreaking figure in Smyrna history and in the state of Delaware. So a neat thing that's being done to honor him, and hope everyone can make it out and check that out. A couple other little things. The Hollies Club is having their spring fling coming up. That's going to be May 20th at the Clayton Fire Hall. If you're a member, if you see a lot of the stuff the Hollies Club does around the community, you can go out and support them. You can check out and find some more information from them. I know that's on their Facebook page and things like that. And of course, getting closer every week, Smyrna at Night, coming up on June 17th, 2023. So make sure that's on your agenda, and come out and support great music, great people, great businesses, everybody downtown. That's the quick updates. As far as the agenda items last night, so we had, I'm just going to work our way through the major things. Actually, on the update side, one of the big things that was shared, this has come up in previous updates, is there's been a question about the policy for refunding utility deposits. And unfortunately, this has been done differently over the years. The town policy is actually very clear. It is that utility deposits will not be refunded until the account is closed. So if you have a $200 deposit, the town holds on to that until you close your utility deposit in a year, 5 years, 30 years, however long it happens to be, because it's the way that the town makes sure that last bill gets paid. Kind of like when you sign a security deposit or you put down a deposit for renting an apartment or something along those lines. Over the years, while that policy has not changed, the implementation of that policy has changed. And there was a time period where people started getting refunded their deposits after, I believe it was 2 years. I know that's what happened for mine. After 2 years, I got a credit on my utility bill 1 month for the amount that we had deposited. That is not a best practice as far as management goes for the town. It leaves the town at risk for potential losses when it comes to unpaid utility bills. And the governance committee, or the charter review committee, was charged with taking a look at this and seeing whether or not that should be updated or changed, and what should be done to address those people who have received conflicting information over the years. In the end, the decision is made. We have a policy for a reason. The policy is considered the national best practice when it comes down to this, and we should hold to it. That's going to make some people upset who have signed up and thought they were going to get their utility deposit back after a certain amount of time. Why that was administratively done differently over the years, I cannot speak to that. It predates my role. However, the policy from this point on going forward is going to be nobody gets a utility deposit back until you close your account. So sorry if that leaves anybody in the lurch. I know even members of council, some have gotten their utility deposit backs, some have not. That's a problem, there's no doubt. Unfortunately, the fix for that problem is not going to make some people happy. But that's the decision that was ultimately made to move forward with, to go by the policy, what is the national best practice, and hold on to all utility deposits until those accounts are closed. That was the major update on from the committees. As far as agenda items, so first and foremost, we had to certify the list of candidates for the April 2025 election. We have 2 people who are running for mayor. We have 4 people who are running for the newly created District 2 council seat, and we have 2 people who are running for the at-large seat. So 3 elections, 3 people, 3 choices you get to make this year in voting. If you're in District 2, if you're in the rest of the city, then you just have 2 choices. But the election candidate slate was set, and we also set the time for a Meet the Candidates night, so an opportunity hosted by the town for people to come out and meet and chat with folks. The Meet the Candidates night is on April 4th. It's a Tuesday night. I believe it's from 6 to 8 p.m. at Town Hall. And the actual town election is on Tuesday the 25th of April. So come out, learn about folks if you don't know everybody already, and make sure you vote on the 25th. We also had a resolution, a question about establishing Juneteenth as a town holiday. So a lot of folks probably have heard this over the last number of years. Both the federal government and then the national and then the state government have established Juneteenth as a national and a state holiday. For the last couple of years, the town has every year voted to make Juneteenth a town holiday individually. The question this year was whether or not we want to just follow suit with the state and the federal government and establish it as a permanent town holiday going forward. I think that is the right thing to do. I made a motion to make that a permanent holiday, and it was passed unanimously by the council. So Juneteenth is going to be added to our town holiday list, meaning that town offices will be closed, things like that. For this year, it also happens to be the night of one of our town council meetings, so that town council meeting will have to be delayed until June 20th. Another item that was on the agenda was adopting a fee schedule, a new updated fee schedule. Last year, and this is a lot of work goes into these. It seems like something that might not be all that difficult, but in reality, this is something that takes months and months of time for town staff, as well as our planning and zoning commission that meet and talk about a lot of this stuff. Last year, we updated our impact fee schedule to better reflect the true costs associated with some of this work, as well as be better aligned with other communities in our area. This year, we are updating the fee schedule. So this is the permit fee schedule that's associated with some of these are simple ones where a building permit fee goes from $40 to $60 kind of thing, which is still below the average for this area. But the big ones here are, we had a lot of code and language changes because of zoning updates through our comp plan, and we needed to update our fee schedule to better match the the new zoning designations and the new processes that you have to go through. And this is for big things like major and minor site development plans. We're talking generally big projects here, not your average like putting a deck on your house kind of permit. These are things if you're going to build an apartment complex or you're going to build a large, develop a large piece of property. So we created a new fee schedule or new fees that are associated with those so that they're clear and they're easier to understand and easier to apply. And in some of the cases, we adjusted our fees up to be better reflective of the true costs. Most of these fees hadn't been updated in almost 20 years. Obviously, inflation, our costs and time and thing have increased dramatically over 20 years, but the fees have not been brought up to recognize that. We still are below every one of the municipalities around us. That's kind of one of our things. We want to be affordable, but at the same time need to recognize the increased costs and the increased work associated with these larger development projects. So updated that new fee schedule. We then had 4 different zoning related pieces. And 3 of these are formalities. The first one was to officially rezone the 16.3 acre parcel we talked about last time that the Smyrna School District is going to use to build a new intermediate school out on Rabbit Chase Lane, right across the street from Sunnyside Elementary. That property, we already did a conditional use to approve them to use it for a school. Now we had to change it from residential zoning, R2A, to INR with institutional and recreational zoning, which is what schools are zoned as. This is actually for Sunnyside Elementary School across the street. That zoning for that had never actually been updated. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Sunnyside had been done under a conditional use, but the zoning had never been updated to reflect the INR zoning that it should be. And they actually want to put in a sign. And that sign, in order to do that, you have to have the right zoning in place. So this is a formality. It's something that has been recommended in our comprehensive plan. So not a lot of questions or concerns from the town staff, but we voted to approve that to align with our comp plan. We then had 2 other pieces of property downtown, 178 South Main Street and 184 South Main Street. They directly next to each other. They actually butt up onto Main Street, and then I believe it is, I forget which street they go through. They go through an entire block. And the property owner who owns both of those would like to potentially do a division and build something on the back side of those pieces of property. They're quite long. He'd like to potentially put in either a single family home or some sort of another residential structure. But in order to do that, it has to be brought up to the proper zoning. Our comp plan, we changed that zoning area from R3 residential to our downtown residential zoning so that everything downtown has the same zoning rather than a hodgepodge of different things. There were no issues with that. The property, it makes sense for allowing them to do it. It certainly allows them to get the best use of their property. So there was no objections and the zoning change was approved for both of those. And then the last piece, and this is very on the wonky side, and it was presented by our planning and inspection staff, did a great job of this, as well as our planning and zoning commission, to make some significant updates to our zoning ordinance appendix A. If you ever really want to get into how things look or work in town, zoning appendix A is where you go for all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, it has been for the longest time a lot of text that references other portions of the text, and if you want to understand what you can do in, say, R3, well, you have to go back through R1 and R2 because R3 references that you're allowed to do those things from R1 and R2. That kind of a structure. So they started trying to think about how can they simplify that, how can they better present that to folks to make it easier to understand, and they began building some tables that are going to be inserted, they're being inserted into the code to help really simplify it. I'll show you what these look like. It may not look simple to you, but it's way easier than it was. So there's some tables that talk about the different zoning categories and then lay out exactly what the setbacks are required to be, what the lot coverage requirements are, whether or not you can do certain uses in those, both for the residential zoning pieces, and then they also did this for our commercial zoning, so our central commercial, our highway commercial, our limited commercial zoning areas, and our manufacturing areas are, so institutional, recreational, limited manufacturing, or light manufacturing, IORP, which is our institutional research park. So all of this is dramatically simpler and easier to see. Hey, if I'm in this zoning, here's the requirements, here's what I can do easily. Or maybe I have to come to town council and get a conditional use, or I have to get a special exception from the Board of Adjustments. At least it lays it out in a much clearer way. It's a step in the right direction. There are a lot of things. This is zoning ordinances that were created in the 60s and haven't been significantly updated. Their piecemeal changes have been made, which actually can make it more confusing over time. But this is the first step in a process of trying to make it a little bit simpler. Eventually, we're going to come back and probably try and eliminate some of these zoning areas where we have on the books, but there might be one property in town that is zoned like that, or two properties in town that have a specific zoning. Those are areas where we can simplify our zoning, make it easier for citizens, make it easier for the town, make it easier for potential investors or developers. So thank you very much to the town staff for a lot of work that went into getting all of that organized. Those were our major agenda items. There was another piece that came up last night, and it's been a constant headache for the folks who live in Lake Como Woods for decades. And there has been a number of issues over the years, long predating me, which most of the folks probably don't even remember all the details, about between the builder, the developer, and the town getting aspects of Lake Como Woods finished. There's finally been progress made in order to get the developer to finish some of the things. We're talking about putting like top coating in on the roads, fixing curbs, and in this case tonight, last night, it was about talking about adding in sidewalks. Most of the community has had sidewalks been installed. Those were installed long ago, but there are a few homes, including the very first home built and the one right next to it, that for one reason or another were approved without the sidewalks being installed. They're on the plot plan, they're on what is supposed to be done, but the builder or the developer, and there's questions about these paper documents that might go back 20 years that no one can seem to find, allowing them to, the town allowed them to move forward with getting the certificate of occupancy for these homes without the sidewalks being installed. Now they're coming back 16-ish plus years later to install them. And the unfortunate thing is that the standards have changed for sidewalks since all the other sidewalks in the community were put in. All the other sidewalks are 4 feet wide. The new standard says that you need to have a 5-foot wide sidewalk for ADA accessibility, or you have to have bump outs every certain distance. Obviously, the homeowners don't want their sidewalk to be different than everybody else. They don't want to lose an extra foot of their front yard to a sidewalk that, perceivably, if it was built when it was supposed to be built, would have only been 4 feet wide. So they came to ask for some relief based on that to get. And council, I think everybody in the room kind of realizes this is a little bit ridiculous. And I think there are some legal questions about, these places were approved and the original plot plan has this. Certificate of occupancies were issued based on this size of a sidewalk going in. So I think there's some legal questions that remain sort of murky. In the end, the town council made a decision to allow them to move forward with 4-foot sidewalks, knowing that if there is a problem down the road, that those may need to be extended to 5 feet, and that they recognize that. But that at the moment we will let them move forward with the 4-foot sidewalks and hope that we don't have to come back and address those at a future time. So they'll be just like the rest of the community for the most part. Weird thing, a lot of stuff like this that happened a very long time ago, and you have developers and builders in town, and not a lot of clarity about what the exact expectations are. This isn't the only area, but it is really nice to see some movement in Lake Como Woods, getting some of that work finished, because it is a constant headache for the people who live in that community. So happy to see it moving forward. This is one of those things that literally we found out about yesterday, and they're having a meeting up there this afternoon to try and address some of these things on the site. So that was the big stuff. We had other executive session items that kept us there pretty late last night, but from the public ideas, those are the main things from our meeting. So obviously, if you ever have any questions, please reach out. Always happy to try and get answers for you. To reiterate on the things that are coming up, April 25th is the town election. Make sure you come out and vote. The Meet the Candidates night is going to be April 4th, Tuesday night at Town Hall from 6 to 8 p.m. And coming up on the 30th, we've got the Kent County MPO meeting to talk about the Route 300, Route 6 interchange. This is I think it's the third public meeting of that process. So a few things to get you out, and then Easter egg hunts on April 1st, and the unveiling of the statue on April 22nd for former Mayor George C. Wright Jr. Hope everyone has a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Take care, and let me know if you need anything.